Hey, what's up guys? This is the video for the test review you guys will have on Friday, which is the test on sections 3.1. You guys have 3.3, 4.1, and 4.2. So all this test is about linear equations, graphing, and finding the slope or using the slope and the y-intercept. So let's look at number one. Number one says find the slope-intercept equation. So here they're trying to say that we want to know what is the slope-intercept form for this line. The slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we need two different numbers. The first one is the slope, which is m, and the second one is going to be the y-intercept, which is b. It is a constant. M is the coefficient that has the x. So it's a lot easier to find the y-intercept first, and that's where the line is crossing the y-axis. So I notice it crosses at this point there. So my y-intercept, I'm going to label that here y-int, it's going to be positive 2. Then you guys need to find the slope. To find the slope, we need to use two different points. I already have one. I have the y-intercept. So on the line, I'm going to look for a second one, and I notice I have this one here. So I am going to make a second point here, and I'm using this point because the line is going through the corner of the boxes, and that's what you want to use. Not the ones in between or in the middle of the boxes, because that's going to be a fraction number. So you guys want to use the one in the corners. And then you guys need to find the rise and the run. So this one, you guys go down 1. So I'm going to say -1 for the rise. I'm going to label that rise here. And then you guys go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So I'm going to put a positive 4 because we go to the right. And that's going to be the run. So the way you guys write your slope will be rise over run. So now I can set up my m value, which is -1 over 4. So when you guys put that together in the slope-intercept form, you start with the y equals, the slope is -1 over 4 x, and the y-intercept is positive 2. For number 2, same thing, you guys want to write the equation of the line. So we want to know what is the slope-intercept form or the equation of the line. So I notice the line is horizontal. First of all, it is horizontal, so that is a slope of 0. This line has a slope of 0. And I notice that this y-intercept is at -3. So I'm going to write down what I know. I know the slope is 0. And I know that the y-intercept, which is right here, that's the blue point, it is 1, 2, -3. So when you guys have just an horizontal line, the slope equals to 0, that means we have a y by itself. The slope is 0, so we don't need the slope, but we do need the y-intercept. So you guys can just put -3 for the y-intercept. So that's the equation of the line, y equals -3. If you guys think about the slope, if you guys want to go back to that, well, if you do this, if you put a 0, x, 0 into the slope, and -3 into the y-intercept, well, this portion here, 0 times x is 0. That's why we don't need it. And you can rewrite it as y equals -3 for the equation of the line. Number 3 says find the slope of the line. It means that you're just looking for the slope. You do not want the slope in as a form, just m. It says here m, the slope. You guys want to find it for the line, the slope of the line. So to find the slope, we need to use 2 points. The easiest one to use is the y-intercept. Notice we don't have points, but I will make 2 points in order to find those slope of the line. So you guys have the first one here, the y-intercept, and the second point on the line. You guys are going to look for one that is crossing the corner. So I notice another one is here. So I'm going to use that point, the second point on the line. Once you guys have 2 points, you are going to find the rise. In this case, will be down. That's a -2 right here. And to the right, that's your run, is 3. So the slope is rise, which is the -2, and the run, which is the one you guys go to the right. So it is -2 over 3. Number 4, same thing. You guys want to find the slope of the line. So we are looking for m. I'm going to put a box around the word slope. So m equals, we need the rise and the run. So I like to use the y-intercept. So this is going to be 1 point on the line. And then I'm going to look for another point, and I see that it crosses right here at the corner. So I'm going to put another point, and that's the corner of the box. I'm going to put another point right there. So the rise will be up. So this one is going to be positive 1, 2, 3. So that's the rise. And the run, you guys go to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. So remember, the rise goes on the top of the fraction, and the run goes on the bottom of the fraction. So 3/5 is the slope. Number 5 says, give the y-intercept. Now notice what it says here. The instruction says you want the y-intercept. That's not a graph, it's an equation. 4x plus y equals 8. So to find the y-intercept, we need to let x equal to 0. So I'm going to put here, let x equal to 0. Now, a trick you guys can do when you guys are looking for the y-intercept, you guys want to find where the line crosses the y-axis. You can ignore the x. Since x is going to equal to 0, you guys can actually just ignore the x like this, and then you guys keep the y, and it is a positive. So it's a positive y equals 8. So that is your y-intercept. Now, this is one way to write down the y-intercept. Another way to write down the y-intercept is using an ordered pair. So when you guys have an ordered pair, we have the parentheses. X, remember, we let x equal to 0. So that's going to be 0 for the x. And now we know that y equals 8. So you put in 8 for the y. So you guys can have a point like this one. So that's an ordered pair. I'm going to put here point. Or you guys can have a y equals 8. So for the test, make sure you guys look for which option they give you. It is going to be multiple choice. Maybe they give you guys the point 0, 8. That is your y value. Or maybe they'll give you guys that equation. Just make sure you guys know what type of answer you need to use. For number 6, it says give the x-intercept. Now this one, same thing, but we are going to let y equal to 0. So I'm going to put here, let y equal to 0. And the trick is, when you guys are looking for the x-intercept, where the line crosses the x-axis, you guys can ignore the y, because y is going to equal to 0. So you guys can actually just put a box or ignore the y right there, and you guys keep the x. So here we have a positive 6x equals a 36. Now we need to get x by itself. You guys are going to divide by 6. This is going to turn into 1, so x equals positive 6. So this is one way to write down the x-intercept. Another way is, remember, you can use an ordered pair or a point. So we need parentheses. X is 6, that's what we know. And the y, let's go back up here, it equal to 0. So you guys have the x value to 6 and the y value equal to 0. So you guys have a point, or you guys have x equal to 6. Again, for the test, make sure you guys look for what option they give you, the type of answer, and you're going to choose either the point or the equation. Number 7 says identify the graph with a x-intercept of 5 and a y-intercept of -2. So you guys are looking at the graph. I have 3 different options here. All you have to do, guys, is know where the line, which line crosses the x-intercept or the x-axis at 5 and the y-axis at -2. So I'm looking at this graph, the one on the left side, and the x-intercept, I'm looking at the x-axis from the origin, positive 1, 2, 3. That is not the one we need. We want the one that has x-intercept of 5. So you guys can cross out the first graph. That's not the answer. The second graph from the origin, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this one crosses at 5. But let's check the y-intercept. The y-intercept has to be -2. So when you guys look at the y-intercept for this graph, -1, -2, -3. Nope, that's not the graph we need, because it's crossing the y-axis at -3. So it has to be the last one. Let's just check the x-intercept. So from the origin on the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that is your x-intercept. And your y-intercept is -1, -2. That's it. We know what the y-intercept is, -2, and we know what the x-intercept is, positive 5. So the actual graph we're looking for is the third one. Number 8, it says, what is the equation of the line? Again, you guys want to find the equation. So this is going to be the slope-intercept form. I'm going to write down y equals mx plus b. And we need two numbers. We need the slope of the line and we need the y-intercept. I told you guys that it's a lot easier to start with the y-intercept. So looking at the line here, the y-intercept is going to be at negative, let me go from the origin, 1, negative 1, 2, 3, negative 4. So we have a b value of negative 4. Then you guys are going to find a second point, and I'm looking at this point that is crossing the corner of the box. So I'm going to have that point there, and the slope will be the rise. So I go up 1, so that's a 1 step, and I go to the right 1, 2, 3 steps. So I have a rise of 1 and the run is 3. So my slope is 1 over 3. When you guys put it together in your equation, it's going to be y equals 1/3 x minus 4. Number 9, how will you write, how would you, the word missing, we are missing a word here. How would you write the equation of a line with a slope of 3 over 4 and a y-intercept of negative 5? Slope, they say, is 3 over 4 and the y-intercept is negative 5. So the slope-intercept form will be y equals mx plus b. All you have to do is substitute the numbers. Y equals, the slope is 3 over 4 x and the y-intercept is negative 5. You're done. That is the answer in slope-intercept form. That is the equation of the line. Number 10 says graph y equals negative x plus 4. So now we're actually graphing the linear function, the linear equation. So to graph it in slope-intercept form, and this is slope-intercept form because y is by itself. So when you guys have y by itself, the slope-intercept form, we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. So the slope is the number with the x, and notice here we have a negative, but there's an invisible 1. So my slope will be negative 1, and we need to make that a fraction, so we can use the rise and the run. So the rise is the top, and the run is the bottom. I'm just going to label that for you guys. The top is the rise, and the bottom is the run. The y-intercept is the constant after the x, so the 4, positive 4, will be your y-intercept. And I'm going to put here y-intercept. We always start with the y-intercept. That's where you go first. So from the origin, you guys go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys plot a point right there, and you guys stay at that point. Do not go back to the origin. From this point, the y-intercept, I'm going to go down 1, 1 to the right. 1 down, 1 to the right, and you guys will make a second point right there. Now remember that down 1, 1 to the right is your slope. The slope is negative 1, so that means down, and 1 to the right. You guys are going to connect the points. You guys can make more points if you want. You can make 3, 4, 10 points, but with 2 points, you guys can connect and make your line. So I'm going to do that right now, and that's the linear function we are looking for. I like to draw the arrows at the end of the line because that's what it's saying that it keeps going and going to infinity. But we have the slope, negative 1 over 1, and the y-intercept is 4. Which equation best represents the line on the graph? Okay, so here we want to find the equation. So I have y equals mx plus b, which is the slope-intercept form. It's always easier to find the y-intercept first. So I'm looking at the line, I'm looking at the linear function, and it crosses at the origin. So that means that the y-intercept, this one here, the y-intercept is going to be 0. So I'm going to put b equal to 0. Then I'm going to find another point. I already have 1 point, but I need a second point to find the slope. So I'm looking at the line, and I notice this one, this line crosses the corner of the box right here. So I'm going to make a second point, and I'm going to find my slope. So I go up, that's my rise, 2 steps, and I go to the right, 1, 2, 3 steps. So it is a positive 2 because I go up, and 3 to the right. So my slope is going to be 2 over 3. The rise is on the top, of the fraction, that's the 2, and the run to the right equals on the bottom, which is 3. So when you guys write down your equation, y equals, the slope is 2 over 3x, and then we have a y-intercept of 0. We do not need that 0. Notice b equals to 0. So you guys can rewrite the equation y equals 2 over 3x.